All right, now this is an episode I am excited for. Peter Brewer, welcome to the Raising the Bar podcast.
George, thank you. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear what I got to say.
Mate, as you know, we're storytelling excellence in Queensland property. And my friend, you are excellent. You have made great changes for our great industry.
Thank you.
And we're on a mission here to clean it up as best we can.
Let's do it.
Mate, you're a role model to me. What you've achieved for REIQ and the property space is spectacular. George. And I'm early in my career, mate. I'm hoping we can spark some good change through good conversation.
Mate, you're very generous, and it's lovely to be able to have people like you coming through that we can pass the ball to say, keep going, do better. And from what I'm seeing, you're doing some amazing things in your space.
I'm here to learn, and we got to learn from your generation. That's how the great circle of life is.
Yes.
But fun fact, so Pete, you've just written a book. Welcome to the Raising the Bar podcast, where we storytell excellence in Queensland property. I'm your host, George Sourris from Empire Legal.
I have.
Well, actually, maybe not just. How long ago?
Well, I published in July of 2025.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, so we're about 8 months in, 10 months in, something like that. And I've loved it. I've loved the experience, George. I was a dropout from Wynnum High School. I had no scholastic skills. I negotiated with the teachers that I should leave before the end of grade 10. And I happily sent off a copy of the book to my grade 7 English teacher just last week. And he's given me the thumbs up. So for me, it's a great achievement because I can't tell you what an adverb, a noun, a pronoun, an adjective is. I have no idea, but I know a bit about life, and it's been wonderful to me. And I wanted to share those stories with my family and friends and anyone that wants to know a bit about what a silly old 66-year-old man might think about life.
Mate, like I said to you off camera before, the fact that you narrated the audiobook yourself, I highly recommend anybody that's interested in hearing about Pete's life and what he got up to. And it was quite emotional and informative and all sorts of good stuff. So, mate, kudos to you.
Thank you, George. It was funny when we launched the book, we gave people a packet of tissues as well as the book. And we said, you're going to laugh and you're going to cry, but enjoy the ride.
I actually teared up a couple of times listening to the book, which I wasn't expecting. So you're an excellent storyteller.
Thank you, buddy. George, I think people have got to share their emotions more. Certainly when you get to my videos, there's this thing people tend to hide behind stuff. We've got to have this tough bravado, and that's okay, but I reckon you've got to lighten up a bit and share your story. And I wanted to do that and so that's what I tried to do. So thank you.
Yeah, and I learned a lot about you. I had no idea that you were a Bayside local, mate. I went to Iona just around the corner and spent a bit of time at the Manly Hotel. So I've always had a bit to do with that neck of the woods. So it was nice to hear that, that's where you were living and breathing for a long time.
It was very kind of me.
Yeah.
Very kind.
Now, I've got a little cheat sheet here.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to read off it because I can't memorise everything in life.
Go for it.
I've got here, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's the philosophy that drove Peter Brewer to spend a decade leading the Real Estate Institute of Queensland, and it's exactly why we want you in this seat today. So we've got 3 points we're going to touch on, right?
Sure.
And I reckon we just jump straight into the first one.
Let's do it.
All right, so I've got diversity in the Constitution. No, I don't. It's actually mandatory CPD. Sorry.
That's okay. We can do them both. Let's do diversity in the Constitution.
All right, diversity in the Constitution. So I've got embedded diversity in the REIQ Constitution, creating reserve board positions for regional voices, female director seat, and a spot in leading under 35. So, mate, let's just kick off with that. And then I've got a couple of little points I want to hit along the way. So let's do it. George,
going back to if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I sat back and the real estate profession has been incredibly kind to me, as I said. And I joined it roughly about 1980. And I watched an organisation and an industry that was very much the voice of, I'm just going to say it, fat old white men like me. And that's how the industry was run, by the franchise groups, by the institutes. And I happened to, I just sat back and I went, we've got trainers on stage telling people, get out of bed at 4 a.m, go to the gym, do this, do that. Mate, 52% of the people in our profession are ladies. Many of them are raising families. When you say to a lady, you've got to be at the gym at 4 a.m. and doing this and staying out till 8:30 at night, they'll look at you and want to smack you around the head. That's not real. Yeah. And so many of the decisions that were being made were being made to suit fat old white men. And I looked at where the future is, and that's our young people. we've gone okay, but it's time to think about things differently. And so with the encouragement of people like Rob Honeycomb and Linda Bland and Antonia, our wonderful CEO at the REIQ at the time, we set about saying, let's change that constitution. Because one of the things I said is I wanted to make sure that the REIQ that I was involved in was one where if you were a commercial salesperson in Cairns, a property manager on the Gold Coast, a rural salesperson in Billawheeler, or a guy putting up the signs in Carina, I wanted you to all think it's your REIQ, that it's for you. It's just not for the boy sitting in the Brisbane club or for Tats. That might be a bit pointed and it might piss a few people off, but it is the real estate profession for all the people. So we went about coercing the members and presenting to the membership right across Queensland to say there needs to be a change that represents the voices of everyone in the profession.
Just you said Tats, and I've just got to tell this story, and this is just this is the world we live in. So I'm dressed just like this. I've got a nice polo, long black pants, black leathers. Had an event with a major bank that we were invited to, my business partner and I, only about 3 weeks ago at the Tats Club. And this is what I wear every day. I don't wear a suit and tie. This is what I wear. This is my business attire.
Love it.
I rock up to the Tats Club and they say, mate, you can't come in. And I said, I've got a function upstairs. And they said, no, you have to go buy a shirt or get a blazer if you want to come in. You need business attire. And I said, mate, this is my business attire. I'm a professional solicitor. I'm the legal practice director of a firm and I'm here for a function. I said, sorry, buddy, you can't come in. Go to Big W and buy a button up if you want to come in here. So that's what we're talking about, right? Trying to clean up this rubbish.
It is just sad. It doesn't represent reality.
If I was in flip-flops and boardies, fair enough, don't let me in. But I like to think that this is a professional level of clothing to be able to go to a work
George,
function.
we're in Queensland.
It's too hot, I know.
It's funny, like if I present in Melbourne, if I'm speaking at an event, I'll do a suit, really wear a tie, and I'll look nice. If I'm in Sydney, it'll be a button-up shirt and maybe a lazy jacket.
Yep.
In Queensland, I don't care. It's like it's Queensland. It's too hot.
It is too hot.
And it represents who we are. And so I wanted to make sure that the real estate profession that I represented the people across our industry, whether you're in Cairns or Coolangatta. And I know that's cliche, but we went about doing it. We required a vote of better than 75% to get that across the line. And I think we got 75.6% or something or other. So we got it home.
Nice.
And can I tell you, the quality of the conversations in the boardroom subsequent to those changes and some amazing people that have joined that board have just gone through the roof. The decisions are wonderful. The conversations are fantastic. They're challenging, but that's what you want. Yeah, so diversity, big fan, love it.
Yeah, mate, I've only known the REIQ with Antonia steering the ship as far as I can remember. And correct me if I'm wrong, was it you before that?
No. So we had a previous CEO. Antonia was the first female CEO of the REIQ.
Okay.
Sub 40 at the time. And that was a challenge for some people. Oh my God, a female in there. Well, what's going to happen? And I joined Antonia just after she'd taken over as the CEO. And I joined at a really lucky time because I'm happy to say, and I think she'll certainly agree, we were a wonderful team. We had a great time. We did some amazing changes and we wanted to lift the value and perception of membership, and we certainly did that. We were renegades, but sometimes, you're the right person for the job, and I think I might have been that bloke at that stage.
High level stuff that you guys achieved, like I know obviously you said like female director, very cool CEO.
Yes.
You tell me, I know I read off a couple of things, like some of those high level achievements that you've basically changed the Queensland real estate industry.
Yeah, well, I think we certainly made some important changes. I think CPD, continuing professional development, is one of the most important ones to me. That was 10 years of hard slog against governments that you would think would say that's a no-brainer. If you want to be a marriage celebrant in Queensland, you got to do CPD. So many things you got to do CPD. But when we're involved in people's, the largest transaction of their life in most cases, their single biggest asset, we had real estate agents. George, I was one where I got my licence in 1980 and there was no legal requirement for me to stand in a training room from that day on.
Yeah.
And that's disgusting. not even bad. It's disgusting.
People should want to. Like, obviously, our profession obliges it. Lawyers, we've got to do our yearly CPD.
Yep.
But you need to learn to stay current. Think about, we've had seller's disclosure. We've got anti-money laundering laws coming in just a couple of months' time. Like, if you don't know this stuff, you should want to know it. As an agent that cares about their job and the people they're looking after, you should want to know.
And it's scary that the government, we fought and fought and fought with both sides of politics to get this across the line. And finally, reluctantly, they said yes.
About a year ago, right? It took a decade,
yeah.
did you say?
Yeah, a decade. A decade. Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty
So
wild.
we finally have it. Now, is it the best? No, but it's a start. And it will require people who've never stood in a classroom before to go and learn about little things called ethics. And ethics is not a little town outside London. Ethics is actually some values that you live as a real estate professional. So, we're teaching people about that, about good practice, about what your responsibilities are. And I think that's the start of an exciting time. Now, not everyone is excited about having to do CPD, but I say, let them move on. It's time for change.
I'm excited. I do a lot of work going around to different real estate offices and training them and upskilling them. And I get excitement now that maybe there's a world where I can be involved in that and it could have CPD. I mean, at the moment it's not, but who knows? I mean, that's where I get a lot of joy out of my role in the industry, is the upskill of the people that choose to refer business to us and helping the industry learn. Because there was a world, I don't know if it still exists, where people would go through the real estate courses, and there's obviously different providers and stuff, and they don't even know how to fill out a contract.
No, it's fascinating, George. We have REIQ put through, and I keep saying we, I'm not the REIQ anymore, but I'll love it till the day I die. REIQ puts through around 3,800 students each year. These are new entrants to the profession.
Yeah.
And that's just the REIQ, and then there's a range of others. And it's fascinating the amount of people that do their training with other providers and then come back to the REIQ to learn actually how to fill in a form.
Yeah.
That's terrible that we've got providers that are putting the answers up on the board, tick and flick, you're done in 2 days. Really? So we have to lift those standards, and that's up to government. It's up to the Office of Fair Trading. It's up to ASQA, a whole range of people to lift those standards. But it's also incumbent upon those in the profession, those business owners that are employing those people, to make sure that we actually put them on a leash and train them and mentor them through and spend time with them so they know what they're actually doing. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about that.
But there's a set of standards, right? Courtney Caulfield on the podcast last week, actually, top performing real estate agent. And she just said, these are the standards to work in our office. And we will teach and coach and help people get to these standards, but we don't accept what's down there because it doesn't align with their values. They're a top performing office and they want to have a top performing team that they're proud of sending out into the world to help with listings.
George, I reckon I've done hundreds of careers nights for the REIQ over my time and watched people coming through. And it's fascinating watching people in those careers nights and the questions we get asked. And so many people are driven by the dollars. I'm looking for the dollars, I'm looking for the money, I'm looking for the best commission. I'm going, don't worry about that. Work for a business that has got the right values. Work for the business that's going to teach you the right things. Work for a business owner that's going to make sure you're on track. Because what's historically happened in the real estate profession is people get 3 things. They get a desk, they get a phone, and they get a month. Good luck. And that's got to stop. Business owners have to take charge of the people they employ. It's funny, I was at a conference in New York a few years back, and Simon Sinek was the speaker, and he was fantastic.
Yep.
And he was talking about values in a business, and it was outstanding. And he took questions from the floor, and a little old lady wandered up, and she said, yeah, all that namby-pamby stuff, yeah, that's nice, but what if you got an idiot working for you? And fair dinkum, George, he looked down the barrel at her and he said, who employed them?
Yeah.
So if we see enough in someone to actually give them a job, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we make them successful and give them every opportunity and teach them and mentor and guide them. That's the responsibility.
Yeah, there's a book called Extreme Ownership, and it's basically that concept, right? At the end of the day, every decision that happens around you, if you take the lens of I'm ultimately responsible for that decision, be it I employed them or I said I do this, then it falls back on you. If you play the blame game, you're never going to get anywhere in life. You have to go, how can I do better, or what can I do to fix this problem?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, and I think if more people adopted that style of thinking instead of going like this and trying to point the finger at everybody else, I think not only the industry, but I think just humanity in general would be better. And
Totally.
Yeah.
And on that point, when we talk about raising the bar, and I think it was in some of the stuff we talked about previously, everyone sits back and says, someone needs to do something. Someone should do something about that. Someone should do that. And I had it for years at the REIQ. People would say, you should do something about that. Well, I pled with Antonia for years. Can we have a REIQ branded tank with a flamethrower on the top? And every time we get a complaint about a really bad real estate agent, I want to drive over to their office and I want to get the flamethrower out and burn them down. Well, unfortunately, the law says we can't do that. This is great. And so I kind of look at them and go, there's certain things that we at the REIQ can do, and there's certainly more things that the Office of Fair Trading can do.
And Law Society, mate. I mean, property is a big sphere. There's brokers, there's bankers, there's all of us. We're all involved. Building and pest guys, we all have to do better.
100%.
So that your everyday Joe, which boots on the ground, that's what you were doing, that's what I do.
Yep.
Making sure they can safely, confidently get in or out of a home without, you saw, losing a $100,000 deposit in Queensland
terrible.
recently.
Yeah.
You got, people down south doing not so great stuff's been all over the news with real estate world and,
Are we talking about watches?
we're not going to talk about watches today. We are talking about watches, but I'm going to car park it because that'll derail our whole chat.
Okay.
But this sort of behaviour, we have to stop this stuff. And I think you just commented about going, someone's got to do something. Yeah. I'm in my mid-30s, mate. I've been practicing for about 10 years. I thought to myself, I'll do it later. And I thought, you know what? I need to start now because no one's doing it.
Yep.
But there is no one that I know in my space that is trying to advocate for doing better. I get it. It's not easy. And, this is why you're here. You've been through change. You've sparked it, managed it, guided people through it. How do we do it, Pete?
Well,
How do we do it?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because I love it when people live it out. We can sit down and waffle about it, or we can do stuff, and you're doing stuff.
I'm just at the start of the journey, mate. That's what I'm trying.
But you're doing it, so thank you. The second part is this. I mentioned that people want the REIQ to burn people's offices down and do all that kind of stuff. There's certain things that you can do and certain things we can't. But I look at it and go, I think a lot of this is incumbent upon the practitioners. And people will go, why should we do something? Well, it's your profession as well. You've got the standards. When someone rings me from a real estate business and says, you can't believe what that bloke down the road did to me, why are you ringing me? Yes, I could be your counsellor and I'll send you an invoice. Or you could be an adult and go to the guy down the road or gal down the road and say, mate, one of your people is letting all of us down. One of your people is letting the entire profession down. And I've known you for a long time, and I don't think that's the values you stand by as a real estate professional. So I'm just going to ask, would you be prepared to do something about it? Now, if they say no, then that's okay. We've set the rules. But I think it's worthwhile, the conversation. I say to practitioners, don't hide behind your profession or anything else. Pick up the phone. Don't ring me, ring someone else. Ring the person that's aggrieved you and have a chat to them. That's a really good place to start.
We'll go one of two ways, right? You'll either get a positive result, which we all hope for, or if not, there is machinery in play. There are things called the Office of Fair Trading or the Law Society or whatever it may be. And if enough people do something about it, then a change may happen. But us sitting around complaining here in our back of house won't fix anything.
No.
It won't.
But I think the things that you and I can do as a call to action like this, to say to people, have a think about it. Maybe you could just pick up the phone or say to your competitor or the person that's aggrieved you, let's go and have a cup of coffee and let's have a chat. Or you could do, dueling at dawn, pistols at dawn. I'll see you in the car park with the Mario until at dawn. Let's duel this out.
Bring your warrior.
But everything starts with communication, doesn't it? And I think when we're called to account, we kind of might think about it a bit harder. Or in some cases, business owners actually don't know that they've got a troublemaker.
I say this all the time when the referrers work with a lot of real estate agents and they're kind enough to refer clients to us because they trust us to help. I say to them, we're all humans. We have people that come in that are new to industry or that come from other firms where they've maybe got different standards. I said, if I don't know about it, we can't fix it. And it's not getting them in trouble. It's just letting us know so that we can see, is there a upskill or a knowledge gap, or like, is it a customer service piece? I'm me. I'm not the rest of my team. We're all individuals. And if you don't know, you don't know.
Can't fix it if you don't know.
Yep. But that comes down to open communication. It's always easier to say, oh, bugger that mob, I'm going somewhere else. It's harder to actually pick up the phone and go, hey, I thought you'd want to know. But that's the culture I think we need to try and breed.
Totally. Makes us all better.
Yeah.
Makes us accountable.
Funnily enough, I believe this is episode 21 of the podcast. And I haven't actually asked this, so you're the first one I get to ask it to. What does raising the bar mean to you?
What does it mean to me? There's lots of answers here. It means when the AC Nielsen survey comes out each year that rates professions or jobs, that real estate agents aren't sitting at the bottom with the politicians and the sex workers and whoever else is there.
And the lawyers and the used car salesmen.
I wasn't going to say lawyers, but I don't think you are in that area. Here's the sad thing about this, George, is that in any profession, I call it the dickhead factor. There's always going to be a dickhead factor that stuffs up for the rest. I've had a career of 40-something years, 46 years in the real estate profession. 90% of my friends, my best friends, are real estate people who have good values. They are, good human beings. They contribute to their communities. But it's that 10% dickhead factor that's stuffed up for everyone. So somehow or other, we need to sort out that 10% dickhead factor and bring them back to, I suspect things like anti-money laundering, statutory disclosure, I think all those kind of things, and the changing of the guard, more professionalism around marketing is going to start to weed some of those rabbits out, because you're just going to have to be a better human being and better educated and more committed to education to survive in the real estate industry going forward. So that's a half-assed answer to your question, but I think it is raising the bar, raising the standards is exactly that. Having an expectation that business owners don't take people on for the wrong reasons. When someone says to me it's all about the money, they're probably not for me. I want it to be all about the service and the experience and looking after people. I want it to be that when I go into social media, it's not a photo of a real estate agent with their watch and their latest BMW and whatever else.
Mate, the Form 6s on the steering wheel. I just can't do it anymore.
That's like, let's make the property the champion. Let's show a little bit of humility. If I follow your socials, George, I bet there's not your watch and hashtag another settlement today, hashtag building a pest approved, hashtag bonnet's okay, hashtag we're great lawyers. I wouldn't see that.
Yeah, no, it's not my vibe, mate.
And I don't see videos of you saying, I'm your rock star conveyancing lawyer. Like, you don't do that. But I see real estate people doing it everywhere. And here's the thing. Every time, and I talk about this when I present on stages, I talk about when you get up and say, I'm a rock star real estate agent, everyone's looking back saying, no, dude, you're a wanker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so we've got to start using some, that's just crazy. If you want to do some personal marketing, get your consumers to tell your story. If you're good enough, they'll say, George is a friggin' amazing lawyer or conveyancer, or he just does amazing stuff. People will believe third parties, and that's amazing. But when you say I'm a rock star, they'll go, you're a tosspot.
Yeah, mate, shut up. Like Ash Handsome, she sells out in Murray. She was on a couple of weeks ago and she articulated it really well. We were talking about all the flashy jazz. It was a whole little point we went down the rabbit hole in. And she just nailed it. She goes, mate, who cares? Like, other real estate agents may care, but no one else gives a you-know-what. They just don't care. So just get on with the job. Just try and add some value.
Add value. You get customers coming back, and there's nothing better than word of mouth. People saying they're awesome.
Yep.
Get involved in your community. Be a good human being. Care about someone.
Then good stuff happens. It does. I always say that. Put good people together and you do good stuff, then good results happen on the back of that.
Easy.
All right. Well, let's go on to the second point then, which is how do we actually drive this change? So in particular, because I know you've lived through this with, your time at Professionals, your time at the REIQ, you've modernised and helped push forward a few different areas within the property profession. Mate, these hard conversations, for example, how do you have them? Why do you have them? What tips do you have for people like me who are inspired to try and now do this? What's going through your mind, or what have you learned along the way?
What I've learned is there's a Japanese word called kaizen, which is small incremental shifts, small incremental changes. And I'm that bull at the gate guy. I want to sort stuff out today. Let's fix it this afternoon. I've got 1 to 3. Let's go with that flamethrower and sort them all out.
And then we'll go home at 5 o'clock, happy days.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it doesn't do that. But it starts with all of us having a better expectation, being better humans, and calling out bullshit when we see it. That's what I think it is. And it's things like CPD. It is on the education that people like the REIQ do and some of the franchise groups do. We've got to stop measuring people on money and measuring them on performance. It frustrates me every year when I go to the various awards nights and everyone gets a trophy for selling more. I'd rather see trophies go for being good human beings and contributing to the community, etc. So I think it's putting the focus on the right things, like what gets measured gets done. Cliched. And so we've got to measure the right things, set expectations around the right things. And I think it just changes. Like if I look at the real estate profession as it is today, as opposed to what it was 40 years ago, seriously, Mrs. Rafferty wouldn't let her kids play in some of those yards from 40 years ago. Like it's Rafferty's rules, baby. So I think we're getting better and better. I also think that there's a new breed of real estate professional coming through who gets it. They're better educated people, no disrespect, but they're better educated. They have a higher expectations. They understand, yes, there's good money to be made, but it's about doing the right stuff. So I think time is going to fix some of it. And I think business owners that call out the crap when they see it will help as well. I think it's up to people like the Office of Fair Trading to get a bit more serious. Funny story. It's not a funny story, but a quick. Years ago, it's illegal for real estate agents to trade on Anzac Day in Queensland.
I'm writing a blog about that literally today to go out just before
Awesome.
Anzac Day. Yeah,
So
just to
here's the
remind
thing.
everybody. Yeah.
Here's the thing. So I happened to be at the Anzac Day parade at Wynnum years ago, and there was an office. There was an office. There was an office, and they had the front door open, and there was a guy there soliciting business from people standing watching the Anzac Day parade go past. And I was, what is going on here? That's reprehensible.
Just stop it. Yeah.
So I rang the Office of Fair Trading the next day and I said, I just want to confirm it is illegal for a real estate agent to, let's forget the moral side.
Yeah.
It's illegal. And they said, absolutely. And I said, cool. So the next year, coming up to Anzac Day, I circulated all the local real estate agents. Let's do the right thing, set the example. Let's make sure we all close.
Have a day off. Just have 1 day off.
Show some respect.
Yep.
Okay, it's not going to kill you. So I go down there and this office is open, of course, again. I'm going, what do you got to do? So I've rung the Office of Fair Trading the next day and said, hey, just to let you know, this was open. And they just denied, they ignored this thing. And I said, out of interest, how many people did you prosecute yesterday? And the answer was, we've got Anzac Day. So I kind of get it, but how can you prosecute? How can you call people on count if you've got no other police? The rules you put in place.
Mate, I say it's a toothless tiger, right? And not saying knocking them or whatever. I don't know what it's like in the modern day, but I think that's what we've got to do better at. I said my vision, and I look at this, and I have lots of armchair conversations with my father and my mother. They're both, Dad used to be in law, Mum's still in law, in property law actually. You listen to the first episode of the podcast.
Absolutely, loved it.
Yeah. So
I love that you're listening. Sorry, talking to your mum. That was awesome.
Yep, to the OG legal practice director of Empire, helped us get off the ground. And look, we always have these chats around the dinner table about the industry and conveyancing. These Eagle Street lawyers look down on conveyancing as, the scum of the industry. And mate, let's call a spade, right? You think about law, we're a fixed fee model. We're very cheap in terms of law. And even when you consider all the different transactions in the property, whether a sale or a purchase, the legals are basically the cheapest. The only thing that might be cheaper is your building and pest guy. Your broker's making more than the lawyers. Agents are making more than the lawyers. I went to uni for a bloody long time, and it's not a sob story. It's just the reality is, and it's its own sort of topic of this race to the bottom with cheap conveyancing, and not thinking that it's a commodity and thinking that a $500 conveyance that's offshored to the Philippines with these clowns, this is why we're here to raise the bar, versus, say, for example, Greta and Maddie sitting in the room next door who've spent nearly a decade at university upskilling, all that stuff to provide a great service, and we're charging more than $500, and it's like we're the worst people in the world.
Mate, years ago, I remember a couple of Brisbane lawyers who used to come down to the Yacht Squadron at Manly for sailing on a Wednesday, calling by. They're quite prominent people at the time, talk about how they're going to reduce the fees of law firms. And I thought, wow, they're in trouble. That's like, I just thought that was terrible. You were paying more to get your legals done, I reckon, 15 or probably 20 years ago than what you are today. And it started to be that race to the bottom. And then it really confused me when a guy who was a lawyer down in that Bayside area, who went on to be an Attorney General in Queensland, was one of the people that championed the reduction of fees for lawyers. And I just think that's obscene. I think that's the wrong thing to do. It's not respecting the craft that you do, the education that you've gone through, the professionalism that we expect of you people. It shouldn't be about doing it the cheapest, to be about doing the best.
Yeah, and look, not out to rip anybody off. That's not the goal at all. No. But it's got to be, at least some level of value for the service provided. And we're on a path to clean it up, and it's starting to go the right way. But you are bang on the money. Back when my mum started in conveyancing in property law, it was on a percentage basis, like real estate. And then they changed it to this fixed fee model, and they all started undercutting each other. And something's got to give, right? It's got to be either the quality of the person doing the job or the amount of time they can spend on it.
That's it.
And I guess that's my passion point for my piece of the property industry, is trying to get people to understand that, say, not all service within the conveyancing space is the same, and people need to wake up and make an informed decision.
Totally.
That's all it is. And it comes deeper. It goes back into this kickback territory where the banking world and the brokering world got cleaned up a few years ago, as we all remember from the Royal Commission, right? People got in the media and they cleaned it up and they said, nah, all this underhanded, under the table, this 0.4% in your back pocket, all that stuff has to be disclosed now. And look, to the Law Society's credit, it has to be disclosed now. That is the rules. But, mate, I can tell you, it's what it's meant to be and what actually happens are two very different things. And I don't see those mobs
trying to rot the system.
I don't see those mobs with their doors being closed or them getting in trouble in the media. And it makes me a bit sad, because the everyday Joe is the one that gets hit. They get told by the agent that wants the kickback to go to the conveyancer that doesn't know what they're doing because they're cheap and they pay the kickback. So we proudly don't do it. Which, it's harder for business, mate. If we just jacked our fees up and gave kickbacks left, right, and centre, I'd be busier than what. We're busy now. We're super busy now. But we'd be so busy the business would grow. But ethically, as a professional solicitor, I don't believe in it. I think that it should be a free market and people should make free choice based on reputation and trust, not based on how much money the introducer's getting paid for a legal service.
I can just agree. But it happens across so many professions, and I don't want to be sitting here bitching about everyone, but it's it's the same thing. Real estate agents that send their new salesperson, they send him off to do training to the cheapest person in town because there's a 30% special. Really? You're going to send them there to someone who's going to do that? And send them off and they get no real training, but they get a certificate, and then you let them loose. And then they don't know how to fill out a Form 6 or a Form 2 or whatever, And then they go, oh, I don't understand why they didn't last.
Oh, mate, it's akin to many moons ago, I did a personal training course when I was in my early 20s because I like going to the gym. And I went to the one that was done by Fitness First, where you do it in person and you get taught, how to correct your form and do all the jazz. Versus there are these other mobs out there that you could do it completely online. And I'm thinking, how the heck are you going to teach... Mate, how are you going to get someone that's never been in the gym before to do a squat or a deadlift correctly without breaking a disc or something? You have to be boots on the ground learning, and that's important.
One of the things I do since I pretended to retire...
I like that.
Is I do, I think it's 4 times a year for the REIQ. It's like a 12-week course. For the REIQ, it's Tuesday and Thursday nights, and it's online. And so we have one of the trainers comes along and teaches the various components of the salesperson and license course. But they also get me to come in, and I join online for 2 hours twice a week, and I sit and tell war stories, and I help people to be desk ready. There's certain stuff you can do online, but I give it context so people understand. It's an open book learning thing, but unless you hear the stories, unless you understand, unless someone teaches you how to do that deadlift, or how to do that, or what it means if you do that, it's just... Anyway, so yes, I love sharing information and making sure people go beyond the certificate and actually become desk ready. That's important.
And the best ones that I've seen do it, and I've spoken about this on the podcast before, is I've seen a bit of a shift where your traditional model of here's a desk, here's a phone, off you trot. I've seen less of that, which is good. I'm seeing more of teams. I've seen really high-performing agents build a team with lead agents in it. They started off as juniors, they progress, and they've got two options. They'll do their cadetship, and then once they reach a point, they either clip into the team, which is what I'm seeing more and more, or they can go and spread their wings and be their own lead agent.
And I'm a massive advocate of that. I think it's like doing an apprenticeship. Everyone wants to be the full-blown tradie on day one. You're not going to do that. You know, I don't want a Sparky coming to my house on day one and just saying, yeah, come here, I'll change all your PowerPoints and rewire your house. No, I want to know you've done an apprenticeship with someone, you've learned how it works. My recommendation to new people is come to the farm, take your time. It's a long game. Just go and spend some time with someone who is outstanding, who's going to teach you, spend time with you, educate you. One of the best guys I had working for me years ago was young Chris. He was my mini-me. He got a good head start. He had 7 years at McDonald's. So, you know, systems, processes, he understood all that. And then I gave the real estate overlay to that, and he was outstanding.
Yep.
He understood what he needed to do. And then when he got set free, away he went. It's awesome. So I don't know whether that makes sense, but...
Well, to your point there, they stay in the industry longer. You're going to burn out if you're just left to drown. Like lots of people go, oh, bugger this, I'm going to go and do something else.
Yep.
Whereas if you're actually kicking goals and getting job satisfaction and, you know, obviously making money is a piece of it, you know, people work to make money so they can survive. If you're doing it right and you're learning off someone that's great, you'll probably stand the test of time, or you've got a much better chance of standing the test of time.
George, at those careers nights I started to waffle about before, I say to people when they say, oh, you know, I can go to this office and get 92%, and I go to that office and get 74%, and I go, it's 74% of nothing and 92% of nothing. Because quite honestly, you're probably going to be a liability for the first year. So just, you know, take 20% and take the rest as education. If you start to really crack it, like you're really nailing it, you can renegotiate your fee later on. Just get out there and make sure the business you're going to work in, your values are aligned. You go, this is a good place to go. They're going to sit with me of a morning and make sure I understand what I should be doing today and how to add value to people and how to behave and, you know.
Mate, I see it often, and I'm not sure if this is too much selling Sunset or, you know, watching too much of that sort of stuff. You know, like I see it, right? I see it. Like social media is a powerful tool. I'm not here to vilify it. We use social media every single day to try and get our message out to the world. But, you know, I see these people, in particular, some people in real estate land, and, you know, mate, they're making TikToks and doing all this stuff. And I get it's a bit of fun, but it's like, mate, you sold like 3 things in 12 months. Just go knock on some doors or, you know, like, come on, just get a few sales under your belt. And then maybe if you want to do that stuff to push something for good later, good on ya. But, you know, you can sit and make TikToks all day, but it's not going to get you another listing. Like, you actually just need to go and have conversations with people.
There's this great quote I stole from a mate of mine in the US, in Chicago, a guy called Todd Carpenter. He said, Peter, people get really confused in the difference between social networking and social not working. That's such a great quote.
Working. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah.
Social networking, social not working. Sit around all day, make all the talks in the world, and you look amazing online. Don't make any money, you're selling real estate.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's crack.
Wait, I reckon we're nearly there, Pete. Let's have a look. One more point and then we can wrap it up. All right, so now we're going to look into the future.
Yes.
What's upcoming for property world, real estate in the next 3 to 5 years? And I know no one's got a crystal ball, but mate, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've seen it go through different evolutions. What do you reckon? What are we gonna see?
I am excited about the future. I think the professionalism is getting stronger. It's getting better. I think we're seeing a changing of the guard with people in the profession. I look at some of the franchise groups now that were traditionally run by, I'm just going to say it, fat old white men like me. Institutes that were run by fat old white men like me. And a new breed of people coming through, some really exciting young men and young ladies who are starting to take the bull by the horns and understanding the new consumer and go, this is amazing. We need to behave better. We need to have better standards. And so I'm excited about where that will take us. Their level of education is so much stronger. I went to a conference in the US pre-COVID. We used to go every 6 months. It was the best learning ground for us.
Like a real estate conference?
Yeah, real estate technology was
oh,
the thing
cool.
we loved, yeah.
Okay.
It was the Inman conferences in New York, San Francisco and Las Vegas.
So it's like prop tech stuff of what's coming, or, because I guess we're
yeah.
probably behind over there than where they
Fantastic.
are. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I got to do a study tour down to Facebook with Inman, which was amazing, and none of the ceilings were completed. And I said, what's going on there? And they said, that was Zuckerberg's message to the team, the job is never finished. All the little things you learn. Anyway, back to the story. So I'm at this conference in San Francisco, and one of the presenters from the stage gave a statistic from the National Association of Realtors. And it was 58:31. I'll save you the grief. The 58 stat was the average age of a real estate agent in the United States. Now, I picked that number up and I brought it back across all the franchise groups, the independents, the institutes. Average age of the people running the profession, 58 years of age. The 31 piece was the average age of the person that consumes the product of real estate. And I look at that behaviour between the 58s and the 31s. And you know my son, Sam. I'll give you an example. If I want to talk to Sam, I pick up the phone, I go, ring, 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 ring. It goes to voicemail. 5 seconds later, I get a text back from Sam that says, what do you want? And I text back, I want to talk to you. And he texts back, what about? And I go, your inheritance. And he rings me back. But we've got to understand the behavioural changes between the two. And we went through that series of those years where a more senior person was driving the profession of what are the behaviours, not understanding the behaviours of 31s. Does that make sense?
Oh, mate, completely. I recall, I think I was on the bit of a precipice of the cutover between the young'uns now that are scared of picking up the phone, like petrified of picking up a telephone. I think I just missed that because I had a mobile phone, I think in grade 11. But before, I was on that crossover period. Was my younger sister, she's 9 years younger than me. And she works with us, but she started doing just picking up the phones here. Yeah. And I remember she would have been like early 20s. She was petrified to pick up the phone. And I said, Maddie, they can't hurt you. Well, worst case, you just say you don't know and get one of the solicitors. But yeah, it's just the way that generation has grown up with the technology. Yes, they don't want to talk on the phone. It's almost like, man, you're invading my privacy and my time. just text me. So yeah, continue. Yeah, I totally get it.
So I thought that was really interesting, and I kind of look at it now, and when I see that changing of the guard coming through, like I say to officers now, I think your next best hire is someone of that vintage, someone who understands, in fact, it's probably someone 17, 18, 19, 20, who understands digital marketing and consumers today, not a silly old part like me. Quick story just on telephones, and it's not about telephones. I was helping an office not far from here recruit some staff a few years back. And the business owner said, I want someone who'll do door knocking. And I said, trying to find someone who'll do door knocking around Paddington's going to be a challenge. Steep hills.
Oh, yeah.
And I want a 23, 25-year-old. I went, I don't like your chances. Anyway, this is classic. So I said, but I'll try. I'll see what I can find. Well, bugger me, I get a call from a young bloke who says, I'm happy to do the door knocking. And I said, mate, how old is I'm 23. And you're happy to do the door knocking? I said, this is a really important part of the job for this particular business owner. I said, tell me, where does that come from? Where does a 23-year-old young boy be prepared? Where's your fear? He said, no problem. He said, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. Since I was 4 years of age, my parents have been pushing me up the driveway. So just open that door.
This guy's pro. He's knocked more doors than anyone.
And no one ever tells a 4-year-old boy to nick off. So he said, I've got no fear of knocking on doors. And true to his word, he knocked on doors like a crazy man for a long period of time. Has gone on to be a really successful buyer's agent. God bless him.
Yeah,
so, when the behaviour's there, he'd learnt. It was fascinating. Anyway, fun story.
No, mate, that's great. Yeah, I'm like, where's he going with this? I love it when I can't tell what's coming. And that was good. I wouldn't have guessed that one. That's awesome. Yeah.
Classic.
So just the future of the industry then, mate, just again, putting the raising the bar filter back on it. What more can we do, be it people like myself in the property law world or real estate agents or the mortgage brokers? Again, you've lived through it. What more can we do to make sure that we're proud of our profession? Because, mate, I'm truly proud of being a property lawyer. I know the guys on Eagle Street in the level 30 towers with the view don't look at me that way, but that's okay because you know what? Everybody deserves to have a good conveyancing experience. And unfortunately, for my industry, I'm talking about the conveyancing space, it's very often not the case. And it makes me very sad. And I see news articles about people losing their deposits, their life savings, and it makes me really, really sad, mate. And I just think unless things like this get out to the world to make people stop and go, I need to actually maybe spend 5 minutes and do some research before I just blindly trust whoever's told me to go to whoever, so that they just are protected and looked after.
So the first thing is you're dripping with passion, and nothing beats passion. Like you can have all the stuff, nothing beats passion. So the second thing is what you're doing is a magnificent start. It is about raising the bar. It's about setting the message. It is about keeping people like the REIQ honest, and I know absolutely while Antonia's there and while the current board's there, they absolutely will be.
I love I love every event, the REIQ, the thing they started up down the coast last year.
Conference,
Went to the first one last year.
Another one coming up soon, Lift, it's amazing.
Lift, went there with Antonia, great. Just that sort of stuff that's going to do better. I love supporting the REIQ.
And I think it's those kind of, like I look at the courses they're running now around good business management, around ethics. Peter Camphor, one of the nicest men in real estate, has just done a tour of Queensland talking about ethics as part of the CPD program. Amazing. It's going to be those things that make people sit and go, oh, that's what it's, that's where it's about setting a higher expectation. It's getting this message out so people don't bitch and moan. They actually go and talk to a competitor or an ally and say, mate, really, is that what we want to send? Is that the message we want to send to everyone in our market that we behave this way? It's about our profession showing some friggin' humility, and it's about our profession understanding that the best way to make impact in a community is to be part of that community. There's a philosophy I've always had it's been my life. It's give to get. You just give to get. It's what you're doing. You give to get. You don't do much marketing. I don't do much marketing. You just be bloody good human beings, and people work out they're the good dudes. They're the people, they're the right people to do business with. Now, not everyone's like that. I remember doing some business with a fairly prominent journalist years ago, and she said, Peter, I'm thinking of selling my home, and I want to know who's the best agents for me to use. So I said, look, I'd use these particular guys. They're amazing. And she said, oh, yeah, no. She said, I'd buy off them. They're wonderful. I'd always buy off them. But she said, when it comes to selling, this is standard. She said, I want a low-down dog working for me when I sell my home. I want someone who's going to lift the buyer up, shake their pockets out, empty out the ashtray and screw them for every single dollar. So there are some interesting people out there. Maybe it's not the note we want to finish on, but it's really fascinating. But I think it's just it's having good values, being true to your values, understanding that not all business is good business. It's the people that do want the discount, the people that want the cheap and cheerful. That's not my market, and that's not what I'm going to be.
Look, there's a market for it. We say that sort of that little quadrant. It's got its place.
But it comes with risk.
It does.
You want cheap and nasty, that's okay. No guarantee your place is going to settle. No guarantee that anyone's going to help you out. No guarantee that a good lawyer or conveyancer isn't going to step in when the building inspection goes a bit funny, or someone needs a hand with finance, or when there's, when the shit hits the fan on settlement day. You're going to sort that out from here, because you've got a vested interest in making sure that everyone's happy. That's probably not going to happen from a desk somewhere in another country.
Mate,
you don't need to comment.
I couldn't have said it better. People put more energy into researching their favourite footy team or what car they're going to buy next than sometimes what lawyer they're going to use to protect their home, or even what real estate agent to use. And you just think, man, like guys, it's the beauty of technology is it's all online. We can get on realestate.com right now and I can look up who sells in what area, how much they've sold, their star rating. I can read their reviews. It's great. The transparency factor, I think, is beautiful. We're in a world where it's hard to hide the slime. Like you can find all this stuff on the internet. Same thing with your property lawyer. Same thing with your mortgage broker. All this stuff's on the net. You just need to go and have a look and read what people are saying.
I do a bit of speaking still, and I want to talk about trends. I talk about, you've hit the last one with transparency. The key things to talk about in the research we do around trends is speed, simplicity, personalisation, transparency. People want things faster, they want them simpler, they want them personalised, and they want transparency. They're the four keys that drive the world in terms of where the trends are at, and if you get those nailed in a business, you got it right. And the transparency is the one that's most forgotten by people, but Australians will forgive a cup, but they'll never forgive a cover-up. So you've got to be transparent.
Yeah, well, mate, we put all our pricing on the website. I know so many people still in 2026 are gatekeeping all of this stuff.
So it's insane.
I just don't get it, because at the end of the day, like, we've got nothing to hide. This is what we charge for this service, and you can either use us or you cannot, and it's up to you. And we don't do this sneaky plus model. It's a fixed fee. It's one cost, and that's what it costs. And that's true to our word, bottom of our heart. That's what it is on the website. You engage us for that service. That's what you pay. And it's, mate, nothing's been better than that, the trust and the transparency piece, because you find your people. The guys that maybe want to pay $4.99, if they'll be like, oh, no, I'm not going to this mob, I'm off, I'm out of here. And then off they go, and that's okay. And then we don't have to have that conversation, and they find the right people for them. It comes down to trust and transparency. And on that note, I've got one more comment, and then we're done. It's called the Golden Nugget.
Yeah.
So the Golden Nugget is one piece of advice you'd like to give to the audience about anything in life that's going to add value to them. And you can take a sec to think about it. I know you've already added heaps of value.
Oh, look, I'm going to really tangent, and it's going to be this. It's going to be tell your story. Everyone's got a story to tell. And this isn't a deliberate segue to the book, but it kind of is. I can tell you lots about my parents. I can tell you a little bit about my grandparents, and I can tell you nothing about the people beyond them. And one of the things I did about, and you should do this with your mum, and you probably have, to a degree you have in that podcast, you did the very first version. I sat down with my mum 3 years ago and I recorded her for 3 hours. We just sat there with mics and a camera like this, and I just asked Mum questions about her life. Tell me about growing up. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Tell me about something else. And I've now got 3 hours of absolute. I said to her, Mum, can you share some stories for my kids and the grandkids that you don't even have yet, and messages to them. And I've got 3 hours of absolute gold.
I've got goosebumps, man. Like, whoa, I've got full-on goosebumps. See, you're an amazing storyteller, Peter, and it's all from the heart.
All we need to do is find the time and say, Mum, Dad, tell me your story.
Yeah.
And it's not for you, it's for the generations to come. And so I think, it was part of me writing that book was I wanted to tell my story so that my kids and grandkids could sit back and say, oh, that's what that silly old fart was about. That's what happened there. It's incredibly fulfilling for me. People seem to have enjoyed it. Nothing special about me. I'm just a bullfed. And every one of us are bullfeds who've got a story to tell. So, number one, tell your story, make some notes for your family. Number two, go and record your parents or whoever your meaningful people are in life, if they're still with us, and get some stuff down. I share some of those videos, some of those stories of Mum talking with my kids, and I think they love it.
Oh, mate, and it's as soon as you started that point, I thought of your book, because again, I listened to it quite recently, and I thought, mate, for your grandkids and their kids, like, this is awesome. And then I think back to my own circumstances, and we were just chatting about my family coming out from Greece, my grandparents' generation, and mate, I've been over there. I've been in and I'm lucky to enough have to inherited the patriarchal home that my great grandfather. He was certainly born there. And my grandfather was born there, and in the tiles on the ground as you walk into the house, it's got his initial D. Sourris, Dimitri Sourris. That's still there to this day.
Wow.
And man, it's pretty cool. They had to cart each stone up from the bloody bottom of the village by hand. You can't get a car up there, can't get machines up there.
They're amazing stories. Our kids need to hear those stories.
And I'm hearing this, third hand from my father, and I think, man, I wish my grandfathers, both of them, were still around so that I could hear these stories. I was unlucky to get there so late in life, as in, I'm lucky I got to go there, but I wish I could have gone there as, say, a teenager or something. I would have asked thousands of questions to them about, you grew up in this village and, you didn't even have, the toilet wasn't in the house, all this crazy stuff. Whereas, we're in Australia, mate. We are living from a silver spoon. We are very lucky people where we are.
Absolutely blessed.
Yeah.
My boy Sam, he's got 3 beautiful kids, and his oldest daughter, Sid's about 3, getting close to 3. And my mum was a cabaret singer. And Sid is now saying, do we have any videos of Nana singing? And so I'm slowly digging through and finding out. I love that Mum that passed away 3 years ago, she's immortalised in Sydney. Her granddaughter's going, oh, I'd like to watch those videos. It's fantastic.
You got to find the VHSs or whatever you got and get them digital, mate. My dad just did that with all of his stuff, and we were just, me as a toddler walking around, like with a sponge washing the car, and it's just, you think, wow, this is, it's forever now. We've saved it. Yeah, very cool.
Beautiful. That's my little nugget. I don't know that it's on the topic of raising the bar.
No, mate,
I think
it's not about that.
It's about having a life that you value and immortalising and passing your story on to people.
Mate, on that note, shout out to Sam Brewer. Best Sparky ever. Thanks for, mate. Thanks for helping me every time I need a hand. And Pete, just to round this out, now what are you doing? I know you're doing a bit of consulting, a bit of mentoring.
It's funny, the kids say, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I go, "Oh, what are you going to do if you ever grow up?" And I go, "I don't have a plan on growing up. I'm just having a great time, mate. I'm just doing a bit of consulting." One of the nice things about being a crusty old fellow like me and life's been kind is I get to pick and choose what I do and who I do it with, and that's a nice place to be in life. And so I'm just taking the time, a bit of time in the van, a bit of time working with people, a bit of consulting, a bit of training for the REIQ. And I love doing things like this. I love sharing a message with passionate people. So from me, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for continuing to want to lift the bar. I really appreciate it on behalf of all of us. And I think if the message gets out, and hopefully people will share this and take some moments from it, maybe share a couple of bits of wisdom with the people I know. So, mate, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Well, mate, on that note, thank you. I've got a Titan in the building. It's very cool. You've achieved some really, really good stuff for our industry. And yeah, thanks for taking the time to sit here and have a chat with me about it. And hopefully the right people see this and we'll keep fighting the good fight.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Mate, rock
Done.
on. Beautiful. Oh, Mickey Mouse, mate.